Well, it's been 1,000 miles now on my Time ADHX road bike build. Did it meet my expectations? Am I a happy pedaler? Well, I'm going to tell you all about it in this video. Stay tuned. First of all, welcome to my front porch. Now I say that because I had intended to take this bike to those lovely back roads of those coastal cities like Santa Barbara, California, where I love to ride, because that's where I showed you this bike, and I thought, hey, let's update it there. However, it's just been doing this. A lot. Yes, it has just been raining and raining and raining, and it's soggy, and a lot of those back roads are closed for mudslides and cleanup, and that may continue for another few weeks. So I want to get this done, and we are back on my front porch. I apologize, but frankly, you probably just want to hear about the bike and not see me ride anyway. So let's get to it. Now, to begin with, I want to set a little bit of ground rules just to make sure you know where I'm coming from. I was thinking about it while I was setting this video up. I don't think there's anything on this bike except the seat post that was provided to me at no cost. Everything else I bought with my own checkbook. Now, in some cases, I did get preferential pricing, but I still bought it with my own money. So in other words, I don't owe anybody anything in regards to how this bike's working out. So just to let you know. Secondly, let me really quickly tell you a little bit about me and how I ride, so it kind of puts things in perspective. Because what you're not going to hear from me today is this is the best, all right? Because best is kind of really a meaningless term when it comes to this type of review. Best for who, best for what, how many bikes have you ridden? Have you ridden them all? How do you know what's best, etc.? It's kind of a catchphrase that's used and gets people looking, doesn't it? But doesn't really mean much. So instead, what you're going to get is basically based on my experience over the years, what I like, and how it's been to ride this bike. I'm going to do my best to tell you how it's been. So for myself, 6'2", about 175 in the clothes that God gave me. Just turned 65, so got some miles on me. But the kind of riding that I do and the groups that I do, we're not a fast-paced group. I would say if I'm out by myself on a flat road, I'm probably 18 to 21, 22 miles an hour. That's about it. In a group ride, our group rides are probably 15 to 19 miles an hour, somewhere in there. So we're not fast. However, we do some pretty good rides, because where I live, there's a lot of climbing. There's a lot of hills. It's not unusual at all to do 1,000 feet of climbing for every 10 miles. Sorry for the airplane noise. It's a busy day. So we're not hanging around. We're climbing, we're descending, and we're moving pretty good for a bunch of old guys and gals. Let's talk about the drivetrain. So you know I chose SRAM Rival Access for this. I went with a 3548, actually that's backwards, huh? I went with a 4835 front crank, 172.5 length, with a 1036 rear cassette. Now I looked at that 4835, I thought that was a nice middle ground for me. You know, normally I'd be running like a 5034 compact crank. That's what I would have been used to. And I was able on the Turner Arty to ride a 4633 in the SRAM Access. So I kind of knew, I gambled that 4835 would be a sweet spot for me, and it is. I'm a bit of a diesel. I tend to get in the big ring and stay there for actually a long time. I'll run all the way up to the second cog down, and everything below that is fair game. I tend to just kind of push that gear along, and I think that's back from my years of mountain biking. I don't know, but it works for me. I have plenty of high gear, 35, 36 miles an hour. I'm still pedaling maybe 90 to 100 RPM-ish, maybe 90. You know, I don't have a cadence meter, but it doesn't feel like I'm spun out yet at 35. So That's plenty fast for me. If I'm going faster than 35 miles an hour, I'm probably tucked in and descending down some fast canyon road. Certainly a low enough gear, a 35-36 combinations, one tooth more than 1-to-1, and that is low enough for this old guy, and most any hill I'll ride a road bike up. I also like that less of a tooth change between like a 50-34 front crank, that's a 16 tooth jump. So when you drop from the big ring to the small ring, that's a pretty big cadence change. But with the 48-35, it's noticeably less. Actually, I really like that quite a bit. So when you do drop down, it's not such a rude interruption to your pedaling. Shifting quality has been excellent. The rear, of course, all these rears work exceptionally well across any electronic drivetrain. The rear shifting, it's going to be pretty amazing. The front shifting with SRAM, though, has been a point of contention in the past. It hasn't been very good. I've experienced it to varying degrees on the mechanical 11-speed stuff. Sometimes it was very, very good, and sometimes it was really very poor, depending upon what generation of stuff I had and what combination of chain rings and who knows what. Phases of the moon. However, the biggest compliment I can pay to this front shifting is that when I hit the paddles or the buttons or whatever you want to call them and it shifts, I don't look down anymore to see if it made the shift. That is a compliment. Good job, SRAM, making some progress. Wheels and tires. Now, I don't want to go in depth with the wheels because I did a video at 500 miles on this, on these Rolf Prima Aries 4 ARs. But they are briefly a 40 millimeter deep carbon rim. They're 25 internal. They're hooked, 31 external at about 1,500 grams. These have been an excellent complement, I think, to this bike. The tires are a Specialized Turbo S-Works 30 millimeter tire, running tubeless, of course, with wilderness trail bikes sealant in there. They end up being about 32 millimeters wide, effectively at 60 psi on these wheels. And that gives me a pretty nice match. So a 31 millimeter wide rim external and a 32 millimeter wide tire. Yeah, it's a little bit wider than the rim, but not by much. And it looks nice. And the combination of these wheel and tire, this rolling stock, has been excellent. I've had great performance from the tires. Feel fast enough for me. They're a little cheaper than something like a Conti GP5000, which are over $100 now for one bike tire. That's incredible. Anyway, it's been a great combination. These wheels are snappy. They're great in the wind. They're just a pleasure to ride. I haven't noticed any undue harshness from these wheels, and I have ridden carbon wheels with equivalent tires, size, and pressure, and I've noticed that I thought it detracted from the ride of the bike. These don't. So you can check out the video talking more about these wheels, and that I'll put that in the description. Touch points. So like the bars, saddle, etc., seat post, I'm going to throw that in there too. The bars are a Ritchie carbon bar. I can't remember. I'll put it up on the screen which one it is. They make so many handlebars. Man, Ritchie, they are the king of handlebars. These have been really good. It's a typical road drop bar. They're not flared. They're 44 millimeters wide. I like a little wider bar. I think that I like to stand and climb. And that width just feels really good to me. The narrow bar just feels odd. Yeah, they've got a little shaped top to them. And you know, they're a comfortable bar. They're not overly stiff for carbon. Sometimes I think handlebars can be overly stiff in carbon. Here's the other thing though, regarding Ritchie handlebars. They're WCS, they're 7005 alloy WCS bars, so aluminum. What a bargain. Usually $100 or so, which for an alloy aluminum bar, you think, wow, that's a lot of money. But with a carbon bar being $300 for a good, reliable carbon bar, if you don't want carbon or you don't want to spend the money, look at the WCS alloy stuff because it's really light. It's very compliant for alloy, and you can usually duplicate the shape that you can in carbon. So anyway, little hot tip. The saddle is a Ritchie Skyline. I think it's the tie-railed version. It's long, it's flat, it's comfortable, it's a 100-mile saddle. I've had this on maybe 3 bikes now. I just keep moving it from bike to bike, and it is a really, really nice saddle. I'm not a fan of super short saddles, at least not for the road. In any case, it's been great for me, but you know, saddles, they're like butts in opinions, right? Everybody has one and they're different, so, but I like it. Now the seat post, seat post is a total win. Now, this is the Ergon seat post. I think they call it their All-Road or something. I'll put it up on the screen. But it's a carbon fiber seat post, obviously, and it's got this little split leaf spring kind of thing on, which allows the saddle to move backwards and keep its angle. So when the seat post flexes, which it doesn't tip up much at all that I can tell. Very simple, very subtle, lovely compliance to it. Yeah, it is a really, really nice complement to a all-road bike or any road bike that is on rougher roads, or even a light gravel bike. I think it's a great product. Now, the bike itself, I'm going to take it as a whole because I can't separate what the frame does from what the wheels and tires are doing, etc. It's a package. You know those videos I see on YouTube, and they'll usually be in maybe France or Italy, something like that. And they'll call them like a sportive, right? And they'll start off from some town somewhere. And they'll ride up into the Alps or the Pyrenees or whatever, and they'll just go for a day or for days, and they're climbing for hours, and then they're fast descents, and then they'll find a cafe and they'll have a espresso and a croissant. That type of ride experience, this bike. That bike for that ride is this bike. It is superb for just multi-hour, multi-day, multi-road surface. It just feels efficient. It feels comfortable. It's not boring to ride. I've taken racy gravel bikes and tried to make road bikes out of them. I did that once. It was kind of boring, actually. I didn't keep it because although it wasn't awful, it just wasn't that much. I want more out of my road bike, right? I'm not looking for something stodgy at all. This is not that. It is not a boring bike to ride, but it's calm. I think the wheels have a lot to do with it, but the bike itself, it's very composed. It just feels, it gives you, I can change, in the middle of a corner, I can lean over a little bit more. But in the process of doing that, it isn't terrifying me. It is a really nice balance of neutral, but not boring. It goes down the road nice and straight, feels efficient. I like to stand and climb. And standing and climbing with someone my weight would tend to point out if anything is, feeling a little bit soft or draggy. It doesn't. Now, would something like a Specialized Tarmac or a Cervelo S, fill in the number, be snappier and quicker and faster? Yes, probably it would. But I don't think that's the type of bike for me. I don't think that's what I want to ride all day. It's not probably what I want to take on those to go get an espresso in the Pyrenees. But this bike is. And I think really that points out that the endurance bike genre like this gets a bad rap. I really do think if this is an example, and maybe another bike, let's say you don't want to do a time bike, for $4,000 for a frame, etc. You want something you can go ride at your local bike shop and see if you like it or not. Then you should take a look at something like that new Giant Defy. That new Giant Defy, for me, typifies the type of bike that most riders who are interested in a good performing bike, yet don't want a race bike, it's what you should be riding. It's really kind of what this is too. It is really the bike for me and the type of riding that I do. This is one of the few times I can say that I have built a bike up and I haven't wanted to change anything. I can't think of anything on this that I would change. It all works so well. And I'm a bit of a fiddler by nature. I kind of go, well, I wonder how that would be if I, wonder what that wheel would be like, or I wonder what this would do. And I got no regrets. Everything on this works so well for the money I spent. I'm very, very pleased. Now, that said, is this the last road bike I'm ever going to, build up and use? Well, I'm not going to go that far. Case in point, remember that Turner Artie, that titanium road bike? Now, this was a little bit better, I thought, as a pure road bike. However, every time I look at that titanium bike, if I see a picture of it or I think about it, I don't know what it is about that. That just made my heart go pitter-patter. So maybe someday I'll end up back on a titanium road bike and give that another try. In the meantime, I think I'll be happy riding this Time ADHX into many sunsets or sunrises, or if I get up early enough to see a sunrise and ride into it. All right, you guys, have a great week and or weekend. And as always, go ride your bikes. It's not a wimpy road bike either. Remember, this was a gravel bike when they first introduced it. It is an all-road bike, and if I wanted to put a little bit bigger tire, like a 38, and go party on this thing, it could. Yes, it could.